Out here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it's going to be the turn of Sue Tilley, who I spoke to very recently to find out more about life, love, poetry and all the other groovy stuff. Has just brought out a book which has just been republished with an extra chapter on the life and work of Leigh Bowery, the life and times of an icon. This is out on Thames and Hudson Books, and you'll find out more about Sue's life, Leigh's life, and much more. And also, she is the person in the Lucien Freud painting titled Benefit Supervisor Sleeping, which was painted in 1995 and sold in 2008 for a mere £17 million. And obviously is probably worth much more now. Anyway, this is the interview. So after several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get down to that exciting subject that was the early formative years. Sue, tell us everything. Tell us now.
First love was Andy Stewart and the White Heather Club, which was Scottish dancing music.
Nice, Andy Stewart.
But then I kind of moved on, and I've just always sort of loved pop music, and I loved quite like the glam rock stuff, you know. And then, when I was about 18, I sort of liked the prog rock, but I didn't really. It's just that where I used to go out at the local civic, that's all they played, and that's where you go and meet boys.
Yes.
So kind of lots of bands like Wishbone Ash, Comic Rooster, can't remember, Stray. I even saw Genesis for 50p in the local fire youth club place.
Blimey. Well, it's interesting because you are the same age as my brother, and you would have been at that age where he also was a prog rocker, and I used to sneak into his bedroom where he had his records, and it was kind of Genesis, Wishbone Ash.
I used to listen to Genesis all the time. But really, deep down, I like disco and pop.
Right.
Really. It was only because everyone else liked it. I kind of pretend I like it, but it wasn't really for me. I just like pop music. And
that came in. And so when you got to 16 then, did you leave school at that age, or did you continue?
I waited till I was 18. I did my A-levels in the sixth form. And so we always every Saturday we used to go up to the Civic in St Albans Town Hall. And I said every week there was a band on, which we'd enjoy.
Yes.
I get off with boys.
We forget these moments, don't we? How important these moments are.
It's so important. It's all that mattered, really.
So was this down in London land you were living?
No, in St Albans. St Albans in Hertfordshire.
Right.
So I lived in Harpenden, which is like 5 miles north of St Albans. And St Albans was like the local hotspot.
Yes. And then you did your A-levels.
Yeah.
And then were you going to go to university, or did you
I went to teacher training college in Watford for some unknown reason, which was like 3 years out of my life that might as well have not gone, because it's those 3 years, nothing happened really. I mean, I had a boyfriend the whole time, but it was just boring.
Yes, just boring. There you go. What was your subject?
We had a few bands on at college, like, a few bands. Hatfield of the North, I think.
Oh, yes, a bit of that.
Pub rock, I think we had at college.
Nice. I suppose you went to see, I don't know, was it Dr. Feelgood, Doctors of Madness, all those classic bands. So so you had disco, which we loved. What about punk rock? You would have been the perfect age.
It wasn't really. I was fascinated by it, but it wasn't really my thing.
No.
I like a tune.
You like a bit of a, yes.
I love a tune.
Don't bore us, get to the chorus. So then 79 comes along, you finish, teacher training college in Watford. Then is this then your life is in the career of the job seat? Was it job?
Yeah, so I was at college in Watford, and then I left there and I stayed there, and I went to sign on. They go, you can work here if you want. I went, all right then. I couldn't be bothered. It was a job. It did me very well. I stayed there 38 years, but got a pension. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, I think because I had a job, it stopped me getting too drunk and druggy, because I had to get up and go to work.
Yes, your Monday mornings were very
I was a bit of a state at work sometimes, I'll happily admit, but I still got there.
Yes. So what did they give you for your first couple of years on the employment exchange? What was your kind of role in that position?
Well, first of all, I worked in the head office in Watford, a great big place, where I just counted stats. It was very boring, but I liked stats. And then I got a job in a proper job centre in Camden. I got promoted, and
Right.
I went there. I'd always wanted to go to Camden. I'd never been there, but I read about it in the back of NME. So I was having gigs and things in Camden. I thought it must be fantastic.
Yes.
I thought I'll go and work there then, and I did. And then I stayed there for donkey's years.
That was it. Your 80s was and 90s was in Camden. So
Yeah,
then
and then
what was
West
your
End. To be honest, the West End really.
right?
I was
So
more a
how,
West End girl.
and then as that developed, what was your sort of next period of kind of
I
nightclubs?
met I met lots of friends and that, and started going out to where I'd always wanted to go and where I belonged. And because moved into a housing association with lots of people who were going to the Blitz and that. So I went to the Blitz a couple of times, and I'm a friendly person. I met lots of people, and we used to have huge parties at our house where everyone came to and just took over. And there's a group called Blancmange. Do you know Blancmange?
The
Do you
band,
remember that?
yes.
Dancing on the ceiling, yeah.
Dancing, that was the
And
one.
anyway, he was one of my friend's friends, and he said, "You must come to Heaven to Charters. You'd love it there. It's really up your alley." So one Thursday, off we went. Because I lived in a house with all these people. We used to go out, get so drunk and just dance like mad people. It was lovely. And so then he introduced me to this lovely chubby-faced boy called
Yes.
Leigh Bowery. And that was that.
Oh, right. So he was the connection. The friend of Blancmange was the link between you and Lee.
No, the man from Blancmange was the link. You introduced me, yeah.
Oh, he was the one actually. And what was your sort of initial take?
Well, he was just like he was like everyone else, and he wasn't dressed up like Leigh Bowery. He just had the regular clothes that everyone, I mean, most people would think they're odd clothes, but they're what everyone wore, so they weren't that
Yes.
odd. And then it wasn't for about another year or so till he really started dressing like a true maniac. Well, like he
Yes.
did.
And how did that friendships, develop?
Oh,
Did
just sort of-
did you have a sort of instant connection and bond
Yeah,
with each
really,
other?
we did. Yeah, it was bizarre. In those days, because there wasn't many places to go, so wherever you went, whatever club you went to, everyone that was there because there wasn't a choice. So bumping into all the time, and then he moved. He didn't have a phone, and then a friend of mine, Tasty Tim, said this photographer was looking for Lee. She wanted to do a photo shoot for him for the face, and so I went to his house on the bus to tell him because I couldn't telephone him because he didn't have a phone yet, and that was, I think that sort of made it. I'd made the effort to go and tell him. We just spoke about 100 times not 100 times a day, but spoke every day on the phone without fail.
Blimey, God, that instant connection actually. And what were your sort of main conversations and topics at that stage?
Gossip, scandal, pop groups, very popular talking about the telly. We'd sit and watch telly together. He'd sit watching it on the phone, discussing what was on the telly. Everyone we knew, really, mostly just gossip and scandal.
Yes, amazing. And you were sort of managing to keep a 5-day.
Yeah, a tough old thing.
You were very.
I must say, sometimes I got to work once and I had to run to the toilet and projectile vomit. So
I guess that probably also saved your life, didn't it? Your
my
day
job,
job.
yeah.
It probably did. And what was
Well, the thing is, I'm not a fool for drinking drugs. You know what I mean? I know when to stop. I've got a sensible gene, I think.
right?
Always
Yeah.
keeps me a bit sensible.
And then what? And with that scene with the Blitz and then Heaven, did you go to other clubs as well, like
Oh yeah.
Alice in
Anywhere we
Wonderland?
go, anywhere. Because then, right, some big take over a club for one night and just have a one-nighter. I think where do we used to go? The Batcave, Gaz's Rockin' Blues. We had to go up up an escalator, no lift. And then some friends opened the WAG Club, so I worked there as well. So I mixed with the straight people and the gay folk.
Right.
So I was
You'd have met people like, was it Rusty Egan, and also
Oh, of
was it
course I have. He's sent me a message yesterday.
nice? And was it? I did an interview with somebody. I think he was the WAG Club. Was it Chris O'Sullivan or?
Oh yes, often see him. Yes.
So you were really right in the middle of this
Oh
kind
yeah, I knew everyone. And because I worked at the gay clubs and the straight clubs, I had a wide sort of knowledge of everything.
Yes. And then this is when you Do you then start sort of? You're the cashier at Taboo, aren't you?
Yeah.
What year was this?
So I'm not very good with my years. I might have to look it up and tell you. I think it was 1984 or 1985. Hang on. I have to look at my book to find out.
Well, yes, I know. We should all refer to the book, actually, if in doubt.
Might say what year. I'm so bad at January 1985.
Yes. And did you, because you mentioned pop music at this stage, and we had the sort of the Blitz, then we had the new romantic scene, then Spandau Ballet, Duran Duran.
Yeah, that time is my most fantastic time of pop ever. And then, because you didn't get MTV or anything then, you had to record pop off the telly all the time. And everyone would have a video with all the pop that'd been on the week. And before you went out, you sit at home and drink and watch the pop video over and over again.
Well, absolutely.
I remember, I think it was Going Live or Swap Shop on a Saturday morning where they always had the pop stars on. And one Christmas, and they had a game where the video people, they had to look at videos and say if they liked them or not. And I think there was Duran Duran, Culture Club, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, all on the sofa. Oh, I was beside myself.
I would imagine. Yes,
That's my favourite. And to be honest, I've met most of them now, which is thrilling for me.
Well, absolutely. I guess, yes. And was Culture Club, did you mention Culture Club in that?
Oh, yeah, I love them.
They were there as well. That was so how was Leigh developing then at this stage? Because his background is quite interesting, because in the book he comes from a very, very sort of normal family in Australia.
Yeah, that's why I think we get on so well, because I'm from a very normal family as well. And my parents were Church of England, his was Salvation Army. And we had a very similar bringing up. So I think that's why we clicked, really.
And why did he come from Australia? I know there was a sort of, in the 60s, you had Germaine Greer, you had Barry Humphries, didn't you? Various other cultural critics coming over.
He sat at home and he read The Face and the ID and NME. And he thought, I've got to go there. It's nothing for me in Australia. I've got to go to London.
Yeah. And was he always driven with this idea of fame? Because at that stage, he didn't have any...
Oh, yeah. And he was good, though, because he left. He was at sewing college, and he left because his mum said they couldn't go. He wasn't allowed to come here till he'd saved up about $2,000. So he got a little job, and he did all jobs for his mum and everything to save up enough money to come here.
Yeah, and he was into gardening as well, I believe.
Oh, I don't really, maybe if I said that, but not in a way. I never noticed it when he was in London.
No.
It was when he was at home.
And immediately, did his kind of interest, was the whole St Martin's College, the fashion world, was that something that he embraced straight away?
No, he wanted to, but he couldn't get there. He was working in Burger King.
Nice.
Never really met the right people to get him in there, you know. But then he saw an advert in the newspaper for the alternative Miss World. And that was it. He decided he was going. He went on his own. Then he met someone called Yvette the Conqueror, who, funny enough, lives around the corner from me here. And Yvette the Conqueror introduced him to the fabulous London gay scene.
Right. Miss World. God, I did an interview with the person who started that. Oh, Andrew Logan. My God. So at that stage, his sexuality sort of had been repressed up to that point, and then London...
No. He started cottaging, I think, when he was 12.
Right.
He'd always had a very, very high sex drive. And, in the lab, because he was big for his age, he was like, on the way home from school, going into the toilets at the station to find fellas.
Fair enough. Start young.
I know, if you want to.
It floats you, but yes, I know. At that stage, it's one's got the energy. I guess 12. It's a long time ago, really. And then as the 80s progressed, what was his kind of period of sort of 83 to 85? This is kind of the height of such a lot of excitement in London.
It was just going out clubbing, getting drunk, starting meeting Michael Clark, doing a bit of that. Then it all culminated in starting his own nightclub, Taboo.
This is Taboo.
Yeah.
And were you sort of part of those conversations and hearing his development at this stage?
Well, it wasn't a great conversation. It was just somebody said, "Do you want to open this club?" And he went, "Yes." That was the planning involved. It wasn't like... And he made invitations with potato prints.
My God, was he an absolutely driven person at this stage?
Yeah. Because still have days where he did nothing, but he was always, someone who's got so much energy and they sort of bring you along for the ride with them because they're so, busy.
I know it's interesting with friendships, looking back on life sometimes, because being in different scenes and different, being with different people. Did your friendship ever sort of get tired, or did it ever sort of get annoyed with each other? Did you ever have?
I think in my life we only had 3 arguments. That was quite good.
Yes.
One
Why?
because I laughed at him because he didn't know what a J-cloth was. Can you imagine?
God, a J cloth. We
Because
got
he liked to know
excited.
everything. And I think it's in Australia, they didn't have them or something. And I said, can you get the J-cloth? He went, what? What's that? And I just laughed because I just couldn't quite believe it. I wasn't, I just went, well, you don't know what a J-cloth is? And because he really liked to know everything, he couldn't believe there was something he didn't know. So he got a bit stroppy.
Yes, absolutely.
He
And
painted.
and I was going to say at that stage, I mean, the 80s, because I've done a lot of these interviews with mostly 80s indie bands. It was a very interesting time because we didn't really appreciate it as you do, but there was a lot. Unemployment was a very,
I know, huge.
Was very easy because we had the job seekers allowance, and we had the enterprise allowance.
Exactly,
schemes.
I got all my friends on that.
Yes. And what was quite boggling, and actually I now realise you're the perfect person, one of those, I think it was the Enterprise Allowance Scheme, you had to have £1,000 in your bank account, and then once you had that, you got onto this 1-year scheme.
You got 40 quid a week, and you didn't have to look for work.
And you didn't have to do your restart interviews, did you?
I know, but at one point I had to go and visit a couple of companies, and I could tell they were all really worried. And then I turned up and went, oh yeah, that's lovely, bye. And also there was something like the community scheme.
Yes.
And you do like help for work and you get about 60 quid a week. But a lot of my friends went on that and it kind of started their careers.
I know. Well, this is one of the things that I've come to sort of realise, that because I've been thinking, there are just so many bands that and musical things and theatre companies that started in the 80s, and it was almost like a nice form of having a grant, but paid for by the government.
Now, I don't know how people manage to sign on. It seems like a nightmare.
I couldn't imagine it. No, and also you could do postal as well in your day. Postal.
You lived a long way away. Because I worked in London, so you couldn't really do postal.
No, we could in the countryside.
Yeah, so it wasn't that far. Wasn't that far for anyone to come. Yes.
And then as the 80s progressed, how did Leigh's kind of career start to develop at this stage?
He got taken more seriously, worked for Anthony Doff. He did an art show at Anthony Doffey, which kind of moved him into the art world rather than the nightclub world. So it gave him more validity. And also at that show, there was a spectator in the audience who was to make a big change in his life, Mr. Lucien Freud.
Oh, yes. Just a bit. And how did that relationship, did that just have an instant spark?
Oh, yeah, they really got on so well because Leigh loved to learn. He loved to find out about things. And, of course, Lucien had so much knowledge of the art world and literature and everything. And then I think Lucien liked Leigh's braveness and his energy and everything and how he did everything to the best of his ability.
Yes.
So they got very, very well.
And what was Michael Clarke like? Because I went to see him quite a few times in the 80s and then a few years ago at the Norfolk and Norwich Festival. But he did a piece with Marky Smith and The Fall, didn't he?
Well, I drove, because he was my flatmate for a while.
Was he?
He was, yeah. I drove him to Aylesbury. Is it Aylesbury Friars?
Right.
To see The Fall. And that was the first time he met them. I was responsible for that. I drove.
Were you?
No, not really. But, so that was a great thing. Because Michael Clarke, because he saw Leigh and decided he wanted to work with him, he had that ability to check out the right people to work with.
Yes, and it was a kind of a famous time for having a lot of, with dance companies mostly having lots of bottoms on show, wasn't there?
That was Leigh as well.
He could take credit for that one.
Yeah.
Yes, and during this time, I mean, it's always interesting because you've got this relationship with Leigh, but then there's also your own life. How were you sort of navigating your 80s at this stage?
So I got this down. Well, I was going to work. I lived very near the Camden Palace in the flat, and all my friends live nearby. People just used to come around my house every night. We just sit round, watch telly, watch films, watch pop videos, and then go out, get drunk, then go out.
Yes.
I never lived I've never been that overly sensible. My house was a tip. I was never like proper. I mean, I've got a nice house now, but I didn't then. But I didn't care because it was just, we all lived like that. We all just lived in squalor. None of us had any money.
Yes. Well, and to be honest, we could live very cheaply during those times. And also there was always happy hour at the pub, I seem to remember being rather a nice period.
Oh, yeah, I spend a lot of time at the pub. But nowadays, I sometimes give a little talk at university. All the kids turn up in cars and their parents have bought them houses and they're wearing designer clothes. It's not like that when I was young.
No, we were scrabbling in phone boxes with two
Yeah, but it was
pieces.
quite good fun, wasn't it?
It was.
Have you seen that Michael Clarke film, Hail the New Puritan?
No.
Oh, I think you'd love it. I think you can find it on YouTube. It's by Charlie Atlas. And that's all us in our club life in the 80s and everything. But London looks so grim. I'd forgotten. It looks like from the war. And there's old men walking around in overcoats, like in a trilby hat. And it just looks so bleak. But I never felt it was like that when I was living it.
No, we were just going to Army and Navy shops.
Yeah, Lawrence Corner on the Hampstead Road.
All those things, actually. So what was it like when you met Lucien Freud at this time? Because then, obviously, the famous painting. So did you then sort of work with Lucien for quite I say work, did you? So how did that relationship develop?
Well, because Leigh always said he was always trying to help my life and make it better, which, he's done it. So he's changed my life. But anyway, he decided I should work for Lucien. So because they were both control freaks, Leigh had to be clever and try and make Lucien think it was his own idea to work with me.
Right.
So I got summoned to go to lunch at the River Cafe. It was a very fancy restaurant in Fulham. And so Leigh told me everything, you wear this, wear that, do this, do that. Of course, I completely disobeyed him and just did what I wanted. And so I went for lunch and all the time he was staring at me, checking me out and see if I was all right. And I was. I passed the test. The main test is you have to be reliable.
Yes. Then to become his I don't know what the proper term is. What do you call it, being a model?
I hate the word muse, and I'd never say that about myself ever.
To be honest, I've heard lots of interviews with you, and no, you are not the muse, and I can.
No. I was just in my book. I was just there working, lying on the sofa, and it was like people think I got there and we go, "Oh, we're just going to paint the most fabulous painting," blah blah blah. But I just went there, plonked down on the sofa. He'd start working. We'd have a little chat. He'd go and have a little break. I'd read the papers. It was very mundane, really.
Yes. So the famous painting. Pardon?
Enjoyable, though.
Well, absolutely. I would imagine it's quite an eye-opener.
Very lucky, wasn't I, to spend so much time with him?
Well, yes, absolutely, having the gaze. So what was the first kind of painting or was it this one, which is the benefits supervisor?
No, it was a horrible one. I hate it. It's called Evening in the Studio. And this was all the others are day paintings, but this was a night painting. So it makes a difference with the light.
Yes.
So we can't do a day painting at night time and the other way around. It has to be just done at night. So, Leigh was in it originally, but then he had to go and work in Scotland, so he got changed for a dog. And then Nicola was in it as well. And I just had to lay on the floor, and it was so uncomfortable. And I think on the first day I dared say I was cold, and Leigh went mad for me on the way home. Don't you say it. I said, I'm cold. I'm not going to sit there and freeze. And after 2 days, I thought, I can't do this. It's agony. It's awful, but I had words with myself and go, yeah, you can. It'll be all right. And it did pay off in the end.
Yes. So then, was that the second painting that you were in then, the benefits?
Yeah, I think so. I get muddled up. There's two similar, sleeping and the other one, and I can't, resting and sleeping, and I can never remember which one was first.
And how long did that take?
Each one takes about 9 months.
Wow.
And that's like either 3 nights or 3 days a week for about 7 hours a day.
Right, that's the process.
You'd never paint on it if you weren't there. So I go, look, just do the paint, fill in a bit of the floorboards while I'm not here. You go, no, I can't, because your aura affects the floorboards.
Oh, nice.
And the colour of your skin reflects on them different.
Wow, that's not what we think, do we?
I know. So his painting is a marvellous painter of floorboards. And if you look at his work, they're all painted different in every painting.
9 months. Did you ever go around and say, can I have a quick look? Or did you not?
Well, I could see it the whole time. You know how huge they are. They're absolutely enormous.
Yes.
He couldn't hide it from me. And also, he kind of had it, he didn't really stand behind it because he couldn't see. So he had it sideways.
Right.
So he could sort of go like this. So I saw it the whole time. So, I wasn't surprised.
Yes. Did you have any, I mean, having not sort of ever experienced this, did you have an idea of how long that painting was going to take to complete?
Well, yeah, because he kind of, I knew because he'd done paintings of Leigh and they'd taken that long.
Right. And did you get paid for it?
Yeah, not a lot, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was, I hate it when people go, oh, you didn't get paid much. But you can't pay for experience, can you? How many people have spent all those hours with Lucien Freud?
No, absolutely.
And to be honest, every day of my life, something exciting happens to me because of my experiences with Leigh and Lucien. So how can I complain?
No. And it wasn't like, as I've experienced with some people who have been ripped off, you didn't have any naivety, you didn't have any sort of promise, and then...
No, and he wasn't like ripping me off. He didn't know he'd sell for all that, and that's how much people got paid,
When did you realise that this was one of the most expensive paintings?
Well, I was at my office, I was working in Denmark Street at the town, the music...
Yes.
Where all the music shops were. So there was a job centre there. So I was working there. I spent most of my time looking out the window at pop stars. And I worked on the top floor. Then someone from the ground floor rang up and went, there's a man from the Evening Standard here to see you. And I thought, whatever for? Why are they here? That's a bit odd. So I came down to see him and he went, oh, can I just have a quick word? I went, if you want. He went, did you know your painting's being sold and it's going to be the most expensive painting in the world? I thought I was on candid camera or something. And it just seemed so peculiar because why, number one, why hadn't Lucien told me? Number two, why hadn't Christie's told me? But I've come to realise that most people in the art world are very horrible, selfish people. They don't really care about you as a model. They just care about money and that. And my painting is a commodity to them and I didn't mean anything. I mean, I shouldn't say it. It just sounds like I'm bitter. I'm not really. But it's so bad the way they treat you.
Right.
Christie's were, I won't have a good word to say about them. They're unpleasant, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's a weird one, isn't it, really? Did you see Lucien much after that?
Not really, no, because what he does, because he has to work the whole time, he sort of, once he's worked with you, he kind of drops you because he's he's got to work with other people and he hasn't got time for friends. But, I bumped into him a couple of times. I bumped into him a bit before he died.
Yes, and that was it. But that's that. Going back to the book, your book, how did you sort of, I mean, I have sort of heard this story a bit, but how did you go from sort of being the benefits supervisor, working in an office, working with Lucien to a degree, and then writing this amazing kind of memoir book?
I'm a very bizarre person. I think I can't do anything, right?
Yes.
And then I never put myself forward to do things. People ask me to do something, I do it. And I said, it's usually quite successful.
Yes.
I mean, I was a model. I became the most expensive model in the world. I wrote a book. It's become a club classic. It's weird.
It is.
I do other things. I'm always doing odd things. I think, how come I'm doing that? But I just say yes. I designed my paintings were all over Fendi one year for their menswear collection. The things that happen to me are very bizarre.
Yes.
I think they do.
But then you obviously... So did you get asked to write...
Yeah.
The obituary for Leigh?
When Leigh died, someone from said, The Guardian went, who can write the obituary? And someone suggested my name. I don't know why. So I did. And that was the Guardian were thrilled and took me out for lunch because they were so impressed with my writing. Okay, well, I never knew I could write. Mm. And then after that, this man was doing a big coffee table book of Leigh, and he went to see Hodder and Stoughton about it. And they said, we don't really publish coffee table books, but we'd like a biography of Leigh. Do you know anyone who could write it? And someone said, oh, Sue will write it. I never had any wish to be a writer or anything. So I always feel a bit sad. There's people always banging on about they're writing a novel and they're going to do this and it never gets published. I had no wish to do that. Just got given it on a plate.
And it became a club classic, didn't it?
Exactly.
It is
absolutely. #1 bestseller of Thames Hudson this week.
Well, I would imagine. You've been all over the media.
And people were saying, how did you write it? And I just made a little plan and just set to it, Didn't take long. It was a pleasure.
I would imagine. Did it have a feeling of a certain emotional process going on when you started?
It was weird when I was doing it because I'm not very good at chronology and I can't remember dates or anything. So I had an idea that I'd make chapters of different titles so I could bung everything in there. So it was like sex, fashion, whatever. And then I'd go and interview people, mostly my friends, and they'd, get my mind working again. I'd go, well, that bit can go in that chapter, that. I mean, because I was one of the first people I know to have a computer as well, a word processor. So I kind of knew how to type. And nobody I know hardly else had one. So that was a benefit to me. So I knew how to cut and paste. And I just got on with it.
You did it. God, I know.
In those days, there was no internet. So the publisher, they used to have press places where people had to cut bits out of newspapers about certain subjects.
Oh, yes.
So they bought me a big box full of photocopies of interviews about Leigh and that.
And you just could have...
And I had all my old IDs and my Face magazine, so I used them.
And off it went. I mean, it is just amazing because this was 1997, the first published, which came out, and then it happened.
But it's strange, it's getting so much more attention this time round. But I think several reasons for that.
Yes, tell us your reasons, because I've got
three. Number one, Leigh's at the Tate, having a big at the Tate.
Handy.
Number two, I'm the benefit supervisor, which I wasn't then.
Yes.
I wasn't famous for that painting. And number three, the internet and social media.
Yeah.
Also, I think as well, when it was written, it was only a few years after it happened, so people could remember it, I think, much more. So when they read it, it wasn't so much a surprise. But now, a lot of people getting older and their memories are gone, so they're reading it, and it's bringing all their memories back and thinking about their past and what fun they had.
Yes.
Now I'm a bit overwhelmed. I've got so much happening at the moment. I'm overwhelmed by memories. It's they say they come in waves. It's just like this flying at me.
Yes, I bet you're having some interesting dreams. Because I also was aware when I started doing this show about 7 years ago, and it was basically around indie pop bands of the 80s, and there wasn't much interest. It was almost like, oh well, I'm kind of curious what happened to some of these people. They'd had their moment, their 5-year moment, 5 years doing their music. The band finished. They all sort of fall out with each other. They didn't make any money. They think, God, I've been ripped off. I'll get a day job. This is a slight sweeping statement, but hang with it. And then they get on with their life, and then just really in the last 5 to 7 years, there's just been like endless books coming out and endless, and it's a bit like, and films, people making films on the most obscure artists and bands and stuff like that, and exhibitions. And I think there was, because this is a slight theory, but when you probably wrote it, it was probably still a bit raw, and they were thinking, actually, I just need to move on with my life, and I've got to sort out my family, my life, and I can't be thinking about what I did 5 years ago. Whereas now, fast forward to 2025, it's like having a bit of time to process it. And then there's the young generation who are sort of looking at the 80s and discovering bits and are thinking, God, that was an interesting bit.
Because I was thinking that in the 80s, a lot of people looked back to the 50s.
Yes, all 60s.
Rockabillies and all that style, and they like that. But there's so many exhibitions on now, but I can't go to it. There's the Outlaws exhibition at the Fashion Museum, which has got Leigh and Taboo in it. There's Blitz Club magazine, Blitz Club.
And there's the Face,
at the MPG. Oh, God almighty. I don't want to go and keep looking at pictures of my past, thank you.
No. Well, I was listening to Boy George's autobiography, it was kind of him reading it, and he, again, mentions Leigh Bowery and how important, and I think you just kind of hear a name and then people start getting a bit more curious, and as you said, you had the triple whammy as well as this kind of sense of discovery. And also, I think initially the 80s was told by people like Dylan Jones, and it was very straightforward, and then people go, oh no, actually my 80s wasn't quite like that. It was this.
Dylan Jones. I first met him so many years ago, and I don't think he had a job. I think he said to me, how much do you earn? Because I was unusual, I had a proper job. How much do you earn? I went, about 10 grand. He looked at me in just awe, going, blimey. I think, wonder how much you earn now, Dylan?
Yes, I know. One of his suits.
Because I met so many people in those clubs and that, and loads of them had really gone on to do well. A lot died, but either died or did well, you know. So I always advise young people, go out, meet people, have fun. Don't just
Yes.
sit in your bedroom working. You'll get, you know.
Get
Mind you,
out there.
kids nowadays seem to play in their bedrooms and get all their music made, don't they?
Yes, but
I
do
like
we?
people going out.
But so going back to Leigh, as the 90s progressed, and then obviously, you know, there had been the AIDS epidemic. When did you sort of find that he'd sort of contracted AIDS? When was
I think it
that?
was 1988, if I remember rightly. Let me just look in the book and I'll
Let's
tell.
look at the book. Did that? I mean, did that
13th
take?
of November 1988.
Right. And how did he break it to you?
He said, I'm coming round tonight. I said, well, I'm going out. He goes, no, you have to stay in. I'm coming round. And he just came round and told me and had a letter from the hospital because he'd gone to have a test 3 years previously, but he didn't want to find out the results.
Right.
So he'd never gone back. But then he got a letter saying, how are you dealing with your HIV status?
Right. So he had 3 years in.
Without knowing.
Right. God. And how did you? What did your response to
I think we
him?
had a little cry, the pair of us. You know, he goes, oh, I've got to work hard now. I've got to get everything done. I haven't got long left. I've got to do what I want to do. And then before that, he used to have lots of days where he didn't do anything, just lie around, watch telly. After that, he worked every day.
And did you have to keep a secret?
Yeah, that's difficult for me.
Yes.
I think it as well.
And did he change? Because he was tall. He was like 6'3", 17.
Well, he wasn't. That's some bizarre story that's gone round. I reckon he was 6'1" if he was, you know. But you know, people who seem taller than they are because they've got so much personality. Sometimes I meet people and I go, and I think they're the same height as me. They stand next to me and I'm about that much higher. But but he's not. He wasn't actually 6'3". I think that's some expression that's got round. But because he wore great high shoes and great high hair and everything.
Yes, but then when you had that news and then you realised you had to keep that secret, did you start looking at him? Did your relationship change during that period in the sense of?
We had such a, you know, when you can just say anything to anyone, and it doesn't matter. You know, like your best friends, you can tell them to fuck off and they won't mind. I'm sorry, can you say that? You know, you know what I mean? They just go, oh, all right, doesn't hurt them and upset them. So it's just a very honest relationship, but without causing any offence. Sometimes I used to tease him, rotten. Like, I'm going to, if you do that to me again, I'm going to tell everyone you've got AIDS. But he, you know, he didn't take offence at it. It was just the way we were.
Yes. And when did he, you know, because I just mentioned at the beginning about the band, when did he sort of decide to form a pop band?
Well, that was about sort of in the 90s, because everything else he'd done before, he was like famous for working for Michael, famous for working for Lucien. He wanted to do something. He was famous for what he'd done himself. So, and he was gifted pianist and musician and performer. So I thought I'd start a band. So he did.
And what was it, you know, when you heard it, were you impressed?
I did say, he was going on, I said, Leigh, I don't want to be rude. This is one of our other 3 arguments. I went, didn't speak to me for 2 days. I went, I'm really sorry, Leigh. I don't think Top of the Pops are ready for your band. How dare you? But I don't think they, you know, the BBC wouldn't have had them on at that time. You know, probably would now, but not then. And, but, you know, I went to see his shows. I helped out. Sometimes I got my bosoms out for him.
Yes.
But I'm not a performer or a singer, so I didn't want to be in a proper band. But, you know, I did little periphery things for him.
It's always good to get sort of naked at times. Did you enjoy performing yourself, or was that something that you...
Oh, I did. I was in little various cabaret acts, but they're all rubbish, you know. But it was just fun showing off, like, they were on the stage at the Camden Palace in front of all our friends. You know, it wasn't like we were going out on the road with strangers watching.
No.
It was really good fun, because we'd get so drunk beforehand and we would have fun rehearsing. Do you know Tony? Have you heard of Fat Tony?
No.
You've never heard of Fat Tony?
Wait a minute, Fat Tony.
Pop DJ. Got through drug addiction and now helps other people through it.
God, what's Fat Tony's other name? Or is
Tony Marnock, but he's just known as Fat Tony. He's got biography out. And he was like only 17 at the time, and he bossed us all around and got these shows going. But they were good fun.
Yes, well, absolutely. And did you feel there was a sort of any cultural or social shift as we crept into the 90s from the Thatcher years into John
Yeah, I
Major?
think that wasn't dole culture wasn't the thing,
Yes.
But then I think, when did Tony Blair come into?
It was 97.
Yeah, that was
New,
after me, wasn't it? But that made a big difference, I think.
cool.
I think there was a
Britannia.
nice little period for a few years where everyone was quite happy.
But yes, the John Major years, I call them. And it seems to be, at the time we moaned, but now we
And
look back.
now, I'm sorry, what can you say now? I can only say 2 words, Liz. Truss. I mean, what? I mean, those few weeks when I've never sat and looked at the news and on my phone so much. Every 2 minutes going, who's sacked now? Who's coming? And it's just, in those days, politics just seemed someone decentish was in charge, and people were grumpy. But now, anyone can look at these people and think they could possibly run a country beyond my comprehension.
Yes, I see. I don't know if it's just nostalgia, but they seem to be people who wanted to be into government and politics.
Yeah, but now they want to be famous and go on book tours.
This is true. This is the difference.
What sensible, normal person would want to be a prime minister? Imagine you've got wars to think about, politics, climate change, all your backstabbing MPs. How they sleep one wink at night is beyond my comprehension.
I know. The ping of the phone must be horrendous, actually.
I know, just thinking, what's happened now? Oh my God, Princess Diana's died. I think that was Tony Blair quite good, though, actually.
That was his moment, really. The People's Princess was...
that was a fantastic time, wasn't it?
God.
Oh, I did it. I know it was awful, but it was because it was so weird and so bizarre.
Yes.
Really enjoyable. The whole week, the whole country was just weird.
Well, it also had to pivot because up to then it was like she sort of became the, oh no, she's terrible. Oh, she's made, oh no, we love her. It's like,
I know.
Death suddenly made someone very popular, actually.
I know, it was marvellous.
So with Leigh, he marries Nicola, doesn't he, in 94? So when did you first meet Nicola?
Oh, Taboo when he did.
Right. And what was she like?
Quiet kind of girl, but she dressed funny. She wore freaky clothes.
Yes.
But, I was friends with her, but we never really, I don't know, it was funny business. But, she was really good for him. She'd do everything for him, help him out, be really kind and help him with everything.
Yes.
I'll just stop the phone. Hang on. But, yeah, so that was it. Oh, you've gone. Oh, yeah. Where are you?
I'm here. Don't worry.
I like to see who I'm talking to. Why has it gone funny?
Oh, I don't know. It hasn't.
I can only see myself just because my phone rang. Hang on.
Oh dear. So I'm definitely still here.
I know what I might do.
In doubt.
Back down. No. Full screen. No.
Am I back?
Oh, I've got to blur my background on. That's why it looks like that. I didn't realise that.
Oh, I thought you were just being arty.
Oh, did that? Oh, yeah. So I didn't know you could even do that.
Blur background.
View profile. No, I've disappeared altogether now. Hang on.
Have you got anything on your screen?
No, just my picture. Hang on. But I'm sure you're hidden in a corner somewhere. But I just don't know. I haven't had this computer very long and I don't really know how to use it properly.
Can you, in that top right corner, there's view. Is there next to something like top right of the Zoom panel, is there a view that you can put gallery or something like that? Or
I seem to have got my contact list up now. Hang on.
Oh, okay then. Show chat.
Hang on a minute. You're doing too quick. I've got to get rid of this.
Yes.
What's this? Oh, hang on. There's something in the corner here. I'm pulling over. So I've got me.
Good. Have you got me?
Yes, I have, but it's much smaller.
Oh, never mind.
Let's see if I can make it bigger. No, because I hardly ever use it. I use my phone for everything.
Right.
And so I get confused when I use this computer. How do I make it bigger? Now I've just got me. Now I'll just do it little. It won't matter.
Okay. Well, look, I'll see. I'll lean towards the camera. Yes, I know. So, with that relationship, did you feel any pangs of kind of, I don't know, awkwardness or jealousy or?
No, because he used to say to me, "Do you want to move in?" And I went, "No," because I had to go to work, and he lived in East London, which wasn't popular then.
Yes,
I couldn't cope with staying up all night and all the racket and the noise. That's why we got on, because we didn't live together, if you know what I mean. I'm not
It
very
always
good at
helps.
living with people.
No, it does. It does help a lot, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So many
So,
friendships are ruined by that
no, but
moment,
it's
isn't it?
different. People have different friends for different things, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's
What's the word? Rivalry to me, because she sat and did sewing and things like that. I didn't want to sit and do sewing.
and did you start seeing his kind of decline during 93, 94?
No, he didn't. He was only ill for a few weeks.
Right, and that was it. And then
Some
did
ways
you?
it was good. He didn't suffer for too long. But at the same time, if he'd lived probably a few months longer, he'd probably still be alive.
Right, and then he
They got the
went.
treatments. Yeah.
Oh my God, because Holly Johnson survived, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that was it, really. I mean, did that winter? That was like November '94. He went into hospital. Did you sort of realise that by then he was kind of? It was only months before he died.
No, we were hoping he'd get better, because they said he had meningitis.
Right.
So they were trying to cure him. And they didn't
And
say he was going to die. But he didn't respond to the treatment. It didn't work on him. And he just generally it was like total organ failure, just generally. But he was still quite chubby when he died.
right. And then it was it New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
God,
In the
no,
morning, New Year's Eve.
blimey. And then what was the funeral like?
I don't know. I didn't go to it because it was in Australia. But
Oh,
we had a memorial service for him here. It was lovely, really. Someone called Johnny Shankid, who, funny enough, on the subject, so he worked in an art gallery on Bond Street,
yes.
so we could have an exhibition in there. And his boyfriend was Lorcan O'Neill, who'd worked at Anthony Doffey Gallery.
Yeah.
And then various other things like Kerry Thwyn Evans and Angus, who were like artists and that, and Nicola. We all went round Johnny's house and we sat there making little, tributes and that. It was lovely. I really enjoyed it.
And then obviously a loss of a friend is one of the, I suppose it's one of those moments where you realise you're getting older when things like that happen. How did you then sort of navigate your life after Leigh passing? Did it change?
I'm a very resilient person. And before that, I'd had a flatmate that had died of AIDS.
Oh yes,
He was thrilled about. Well, not thrilled, because you can practice for me now, treat you. That's what we like. We were so blunt, really, about such things.
Did your friend die before he did?
Yeah.
And was that AIDS?
He came to the funeral. It was awful. And he didn't come to the wake, though. And yes.
God.
So, but this service that, we had the disco, and everything in those days involved a disco. Every funeral, chance for a good get drunk and have a good dance. After Vaughan's funeral at the WAG Club, several people were arrested for misbehaviour.
Oh, classic. That was, and who was that one you mentioned?
You just drowned yourself in disco music and booze.
Yeah, this is
And maybe
true.
an inappropriate getting off with someone.
God, that is quite a classic, isn't it? God, so when he said that you can practice, I guess you had to laugh, didn't you?
I know.
I know. So then, obviously, after Leigh, how do you then? Yes, your next period. What happens next?
Well, I was working for Lucien at the time as well, so that took up a lot of time.
So you're working as well as being day job as well?
Yes, I worked at Lucien, worked for the job centre, sometimes worked at nightclub. I think I'm lazy, but I'm not really, am I? I'm quite a hard worker.
No, that is quite a lot.
And so, yes, I just got on with my life, really. It was never as exciting after he'd gone, but, I had other friends and went out and did this and that and the other.
Yes, and then obviously you wrote the book, which is...
Yeah.
Was that a 1-year project to put that together?
It took me about 3 months.
3 months, can't be. That is quite...
I'm not lazy, am I?
No, that was very sharp.
Yeah.
So then you start developing your own painting and drawings for a London...
Yeah, that was a bit wild, because I'd always sort of been able to, I did art A level and everything and was able to draw. But that was not till about, how long ago did I meet my friend who made me do it again? About 13 years ago, I think. I was doing, someone asked me to model at the kids' company to make money for their Christmas party.
Nice.
So they did, and they said, "Do you know a teacher?" And I went, "I do." And I wasn't going to do it nude because I don't do that anymore. So he brought a nude model along, and he kept looking at me funny. I thought, he's a funny boy. And then we just made friends. And then he rang me up, and he's like been one of my best friends ever since. But I thought he was just some young student. I didn't know he was a proper artist.
Right.
Turned up at my flat and bought me a box of pencils and went, "Start drawing." So I did. And then that's how my second blow at an art career started.
Blimey. So that was that 2015 you started again?
No, before then.
Right.
I remember, I get lost with the date. So it might be actually, because it's 2025 now, isn't it?
It is. I know. We get it.
All my life through my friends are always very helpful to me. And I had another friend who was putting a play on, and he goes, "Will you draw the pictures for the programme?" I went, "Oh, all right then." And he's a sort of a half-time journalist and quite pushy. He goes, "Oh, I'm going to write to the Observer, see if they do an article about you." I went, "Oh, all right then," thinking be like 2 lines. It was a big page spread about Lucien Freud's muse model was now a painter herself, but it didn't show any pictures I'd done or anything. And then, in The Guardian, people are like, someone like, call herself an illustrator, she thinks she is, didn't even show her work. And that made me laugh so much, I put it on Facebook. And then a man who was running a great big gallery went, "Would you like an art exhibition?" And I went, "All right then." I mean, how mental is that? And it was a huge place. It was just by the Olympic Stadium, and it was a smoked salmon factory.
Classic.
It had to be moved because of the Olympic Park being built. So it had a really fantastic building. It was beautiful. Then on the top floor was this huge gallery. So I just sat. I've just retired then, so it was lucky. So I just sat, worked away, paintings, put them on, and I made more than any other artist I'd ever had in there.
Blimey. I know.
I know, but I'm not, as I said, I've got a funny life. People ask me to do things and they kind of turn out all right.
They just go for it. And then when did the idea come of sort of republishing the book and having a...
I sort of had a half... He wasn't really my agent, but he was sort of my agent, but he's more a writer himself. And I saw him somewhere or other, or he rang me or something. I go, but only joking, because the Leigh show was coming up, and I went, "Oh, we should republish my book," just like that. I didn't seriously mean it. Next thing, in 2 weeks, he got me a contract with Thames and Hudson, just like that.
And he said, "This is it."
As you see, I've got a very lucky life.
Yes, I know. Well, I guess it's your energy, your spirit is.
I don't know what it is. It's most peculiar, but anyway, no one knows why. What happens to me happens to me.
Yes. And when did you have your last day at work?
When I was about 57, so about 10 years ago, 10, 11
years. There you go. And did you
that was a lovely day.
57, that's a nice
So I was
age.
always jealous of all my friends who never really had proper jobs. They could just lie in the mornings and do what they wanted.
Yes.
And then I became that person.
And there you go. And then you got your flat, and then...
Yeah, I moved to St Leonard's for some bizarre reason. But I've got a very nice flat, so that's nice.
Yes. And what projects have you got that you're doing at the moment?
Well, I've got the Leigh Bowery show, which is more or less a full-time job.
It is a full-time, I would imagine.
Answering phone calls from people and texting people who want to go on the guest list.
And that's, yes. Well,
I've never asked anyone in my life to go on in the old days, you ask to go on the club list to your friends. But I'd never say to someone, "I'm not running the show." Do you know what I mean? They go, "Excuse me," people I don't even know. A man went, "My daughter's 18, she's in sixth form doing art. She'd love to come to the opening of the Leigh show." I'm going, "Well, good."
Good, yes. Buy a ticket.
I've got loads of friends and family I'd love to invite. So I'm not inviting you and your 18-year-old daughter. It's bizarre. It shocks me.
It is a little bit weird, isn't it? I know when you're young, you don't mind blagging because,
it's pages of it. And my phone, and then my book, people are reading my book and they send me messages and, "Do I know this? Do I know that?" So it's quite nice. But then...
Yes. And have you, with this second coming, have you been sort of getting those connections with various members of the community that you had those decades ago, sort of coming back?
Oh, yeah, well, my old friends are seeing them all the time now. Because I've been up to London. I did 3 signings this week. Well, 1 last week, 2 this week. So I went to London twice. And my friends turn up and it's lovely. And I had one yesterday down here with local people and that was lovely.
Yes. And did you Oh, well, absolutely. And did you enjoy Boy George's Taboo? Was that
Oh, I loved it. That's one of my favourite things ever, is being in that musical. That's another thing. Would you ever think to yourself, I am going to be played by someone on Broadway? You wouldn't, would you?
no?
Happened to me.
God, that must have been
I
absolutely.
would. I had the best night ever. It was
That
such
was
fun. I had lots of friends in New York, so we had a great time.
yes. And have you always kept a good friendship with Boy George?
Well, I don't ring him up for a chat, but I know he's. I think he's quite fond of me, from what I've heard. I
I
think he
think
thinks
you.
I'm a bit odd, you know. I
But
went to see him at the O2 just before Christmas.
well, it's. I mean,
It was a night. I'm not going there again. It was hideous.
wow, it's too big, isn't it?
Yeah.
But your club life. So if you were to pick your favourite disco records from that period, what ones would always kind of bring a smile to your
Always
face?
disco, but always Love Action by the Human League, with the best line ever. This is Phil talking. I want to tell you, I just love it, because I love. See, most 80s pop stars I've met, but I've never met Phil Oakey. I've never even seen him out. I've seen him on stage, but I've never seen him out and about.
Yes.
Obviously, he's from Sheffield, but you know, I've met all the others mainly.
So Love Action,
Yeah, what else do I love? Oh, Mighty Real by Sylvester, always. I remember seeing
beautiful.
that on Top of the Pops, and I was thinking that's the most fantastic thing, because Sylvester, you know, because he was sort of a bit transy in that, and it wasn't really popular those days. It wasn't a thing.
No.
So I was really thrilled when I saw him. Chic, of course, Le Freak,
Yes.
and Thinking of You by Sister Sledge. Just lovely. I like songs with a tune.
Well, absolutely.
And of course, you know, later on, you know, Beyonce, Crazy in Love and things like that. So I'm very mainstream in my likes in life.
It's good. And what about films? What films were your sort of influential films that you had during that period that you all enjoyed?
Oh, Divine films are called John Waters.
John Waters, yes.
But it was like the rules. If you went to Taboo, you had to like John Waters films.
I went to see him once actually when he was doing a sort of that was when he did Crybaby and he was having a show in and Q&A as well, and because I was a bit obsessed with John Waters and got him to sign my little book which is somewhere, and
I went
yes.
to the ICA, no, at the BFI, and then he phoned me up twice, but I wasn't in because I sent him my book because I thought, because Leigh went into the hospital with the name John Waters.
Right.
And so I sent him my book and he rang me and said how much he enjoyed it. But I wasn't in, so he left it on the answer machine. But I don't think I've got the tape left anymore.
Oh, John, what a star. Have you ever met him since?
No, not.
Very nice.
I've seen him, but I didn't dare go up and say hello.
So John Waters films. What about those great French films that we loved in the 80s, like Betty Blue and Diva and all those?
But to be honest, I'm not a very pretentious person.
Well, don't blame
I
you.
thought liking French films lightly pretentious.
But
Probably said I did just to fit in, but I don't think I really. I mean, I like a nice, simple rom-coms, what I like.
a good one. What about the Brat Pack? You know, the Pretty in Pinks and all those ones.
Right, but you know, I've got that much interest in them.
But nothing compared to, yes, John Waters films. Yeah, well, there you go.
He was going to the pictures, but I can't remember actually what we went to see. We were always going. So we used to go to one film and then creep into another one after.
Well, it was quite cheap. It seemed very cheap in those days. An afternoon, well, actually, I suppose it was a bit different if you were working at the time, but you'd always have an afternoon show, which was quite cheap. So there you go. But look, Sue, thank you ever so much. Available.
When's it going to be on? Is it going to be on?
It will be on very soon. I will, if you want, I can always send you a link, and then
yeah, will you send me a link? I can share.
I will send you a link. And
I think, to be honest, I can't really show off about myself anymore at the moment. I think I'm driving people mad.
No, I don't. I think people can't get enough of it. I think the 80s, and I think the sense of time, but also our current political position is scary.
Hideous.
It's scary.
I try not to think about it because I'm in the middle of like a World War III. It's going to be on soon. And the people in charge are completely barking mad mental. I mean, Donald Trump, how can everyone look at him and just think he's a decent human being?
It's, yes, I know. What will they do next? It's all
I know. Him and his mate Elon and whatever. Horrible. Ugh.
I know.
They could save the world problems with their money.
They could make it all such a beautiful place.
I know. Well, of course, you make Gaza Strip, isn't it, into a Riviera of thing.
I know. Oh God knows. I know those fantasies they have. It's like, oh God, please don't. I know their ideas are quite. Yes, I've sort of.
I know. Mind you,
How,
I don't know what's going on with Russia, but at least he stuck his oar in and says they should stop. But I just want to say to them all, stop! What do you
yes,
want to achieve? That man, Putin, rules the whole of Russia. It's big enough, isn't it? What's he want to rule more for?
I know.
In my life, I like the least responsibilities I can possibly have.
Yeah, I can't quite get. I must admit, if I was a billionaire, the last thing I'd want is to spend money on a rocket to go into space with the hope that it will come back again.
I'd like to go on nice holidays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Madonna, I keep thinking she's got plenty of money. Why does she have to keep going out on tour?
I know,
Wearing
and
herself out.
I know it's just like calm down, people. You know,
No, you don't have to achieve all this. You can just enjoy life.
enjoy hug a tree, watch a sunset. But the rocket thing just blows my mind. I think, why do you want to risk it? It'll end in tears.
Of course it does. It always does. Always ends in tears.
And all that money will be
submarine. When
and all
under the sea, they all died.
I know. I mean, why would you? If you had
I
that
don't
much
like
money,
danger.
no, I don't. I mean,
I hate it. I don't do anything dangerous because I don't want to. I'm frightened, and I'm frightened of heights.
well, I've worked in a hospital, and to be honest, I just think I would never go up a ladder again because you just see people.
Or on a trampoline.
Classic. I know. It's like you think, right, things you don't do, and it's fine. Don't do ladders, don't do trampolines. And
Don't go potholing. Don't go in a cave.
just go for a walk, but don't. But yes, don't end up in A&E for 10 hours. That's the main thing.
You've
But
got another
look,
job besides this.
Adam, yes.
You do.
I do. But look, thank you ever so much. This has been amazing and I've really loved it. And also, the photographs do evoke such a beautiful kind of time.
I know, because most of them I took myself.
Amazing. It's just gorgeous. I do love the story. It's quite fitted and beautiful. And
I'm thrilled because, I don't think I'm a bit of a good... And I went to think the other day and people was going, it's like one of the best written books I've ever read. And I'm going, well, that's a miracle. I don't know how I did it.
I know. God, that's nearly 30 years ago now, isn't it? 28 years. There you go. Oh, and did you ever meet, you did, Leigh's parents?
Yeah, his dad died last week.
Oh, no.
Last Thursday. I know, I'm very sad. But he did know about the show and he was excited. And he was 93.
Wow. God. Is his mum still alive?
No, she died just before him, about 6 months before, which kind of, although he was really sad she died, he went, at least you won't have to know I'm dying. Do you know?
Wow. Blimey. There you go. You've got to grasp it when you can.
Yeah.
Well,
Live
look.
your life as much as you can.
Pardon?
Live your life as much as you can.
So true. And be kind.
Yes.
That's the main thing. So you can sleep at night.
Yes.
Right. Okay, look, Sue, I'll keep in touch.
Very enjoyable. Very good questions. They're a bit different to usual. Well done.
Oh, God, thank you. Okay, look, take care.
I will. Let me have a link when you get it, all right?
I will. Thank you,
Thanks
Sue.
ever so much. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, lovely. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Don't have to get rid of you now.
Indeed. I might have that on my gravestone. Anyway, a massive thank you to Sue Tilley for giving me the time for that interview. As I said, the book is out on Thames and Hudson, which is all about the life of Leigh Bowery. A fascinating insight and beautifully put together. This is the C86 show, David Eastaugh. If you want to contact me, you can on various social media platform sites. Just Google away. All these interviews have been archived on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean. It's true. Have a great week. Stay safe.